everyone, my name is Allison Grosz. I'm an attorney and a partner with Hemrick O'Malley, PLLC here in New York City. Today I want to talk about what is the difference between a conditional permanent resident and a legal permanent resident. Well, first of all, a conditional permanent resident is a special kind of permanent resident status that is conferred or given to certain spouses of U.S. citizens and of legal permanent residents. The primary difference between a conditional permanent resident and a legal permanent resident is that a conditional permanent resident is given status of legal permanent residency for 2 years, whereas a legal permanent resident, a permanent resident, not a conditional permanent resident, I know it's confusing, is given their permanent resident status for 10 years. Another primary difference between the conditional resident status and the legal permanent resident status is the conditional resident status is not renewable, whereas the legal permanent resident status is renewable indefinitely until a person either becomes a U.S. citizen or chooses to not renew their legal permanent resident status for some reason. There are other circumstances where somebody may lose their legal permanent resident status. We'll save that discussion for another talk on another day. So, to recap the difference between a conditional permanent resident and a legal permanent resident, the real difference is that a person who is given conditional resident status is given that status for 2 years. Now, what happens at the end of the 2 years? If you are a conditional permanent resident, then you must petition to remove the conditions on your permanent resident status so that you may apply for and become a legal permanent resident, which is a full-fledged 10-year validity period permanent resident. So, why is somebody given conditional permanent resident status? Well, typically, it's only conferred on spouses of U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents who have been married for under 2 years at the time that the resident status is approved or bestowed upon you. This means that if your spouse petitions for you for legal permanent resident status as their spouse, and if you simultaneously apply for a green card or legal permanent resident status, and if by the time USCIS actually approves or grants your resident status, you and your spouse have been married for under 2 years, you will be given the conditional resident status rather than the legal permanent resident status. Now, if that approval notice comes after the 2-year mark of you and your spouse's marital bliss, then you will be given the 10-year resident status. So, to recap everything, a conditional permanent resident is somebody who has conditions attached to their residency. That only condition is really that after 2 years, you have to petition to remove the conditions so that you can get full 10-year legal permanent resident status. With that being said, I hope that everybody now knows the difference between a conditional permanent resident and a legal permanent resident. We're happy to answer anybody's questions. And of course, we petition or help people petition to remove the conditions on their legal residency all of the time. We're happy to answer your questions related to any other immigration matter. You can reach us online at hemrick.law, or you can contact us by phone at 833-848-7838. Until next time, I look forward to talking to everyone again soon.